some people in my family and some people outside of my family have made me into kind of like the boogeyman in ways. And it's strange because it's a very paradoxical situation for me. If you ask one person, they would say I'm the worst person they've ever met. You ask somebody else, they might tell you I'm the best. And it's strange living that life because I walk through it and I never know what people are thinking about me. And so that can breed a false sense of confidence because I have to be something that to people that I'm not. But it can also, I don't know that you call it an inferiority complex, but I always had something to prove, I felt like, and I still do. And it's just a matter of what I'm trying to prove. And sometimes I don't even know.
All right, Bardin.
Yes, sir.
Bardin, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I'm from Clinton, Mississippi, right outside of Jackson. Grew up there pretty much my whole life. I've lived in Starkville at Mississippi State for about 3 years and lived in Atlanta for a little while, chasing heroin and chasing dollars, I guess. I don't know. I called it dollars, but it wasn't really. But mostly all in Clinton.
Yeah. What was your family like growing up?
Well, I have a huge family. I only have 2 brothers and 3 sisters. They're a lot older than I am. It's a very insulated existence I grew up in. And my 2 brothers, I have a sister that's 20 years older than me, a brother that's 17 years older than me, and then another brother that's 14 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
I have about, I want to say 33 or 34 nieces and nephews. I've got a brother that has 11 to 13, another brother that has 11 to 13, and my sister has 6. And then I have a few great nieces and great nephews. So it's a huge family, a very conservative, very Christian family. I tried to embrace those things growing up, but like I said, it was a little too insulated for me at times. And for some reason, I like the cold, even being from Mississippi. It's weird. But anyway, so I grew up, and it was kind of like I was an only child. It's kind of like I had many brothers and sisters because my nieces and nephews were like my brothers and sisters. And it was kind of like I had 6 or 7 parents at one time, and sometimes I'd have a brother or sister. Sometimes I had mom and dad. It was strange, but for the most part, very loving. But also different than what just about even where I'm from, different than just about anybody I know.
Are you the black sheep of your family?
Yeah, I guess that depends on who you ask. But yeah, absolutely. I'm the black sheep. Some people even not out of some people in my family and some people outside of my family have made me into kind of like the boogeyman in ways. And it's strange because it's a very paradoxical situation for me. If you ask one person, they would say I'm the worst person they've ever met. You ask somebody else, they might tell you I'm the best. And it's strange living that life because I walk through it and I never know what people are thinking about me. And so that can breed a false sense of confidence because I have to be something that to people that I'm not. But it can also, I don't know that you call it an inferiority complex, but I always had something to prove, I felt like, and I still do. And it's just a matter of what I'm trying to prove. And sometimes I don't even know.
Sometimes that's a good thing, though.
Absolutely. I mean, it pushes me. Before it's pushed me to the wrong way, it's pushed me to the right way. At this point in my life, honestly, I really want a Wikipedia page. So yeah, it's funny. I was talking to my wife about this the other day, and I was talking to her about. I was like, Mark will get it. He's got a Wikipedia page. I mean, it lasts forever.
I don't think I do.
Oh, you do? I know you do. I think I looked.
Well, it's probably a bunch of bullshit.
Possibly, but that's okay as long as it's something. But my problem is I think it'll last forever. But then I scroll past that $275 they asked for, and I never pay it. So I might be the reason it doesn't last forever. It's an ironic situation. But anyway, I think there are people, whenever they find out that I'm here doing this interview, they're going to wonder what I'm going to say about them. And the truth is, I'm not here to talk about me or them, really. My life is different than it was, and I want to talk about that.
Yeah, love to hear your story.
Soft
White Underbelly is about giving people a space to tell their stories, even when these stories challenge what we think we know. Ground News shows us different perspectives in the media, which is why Ground News is a perfect sponsor for my channel. In a world where algorithms censor much of the information we receive, some of the most important stories get missed from our news feeds. Ground News highlights local news from around the world, giving you an on-the-ground perspective that national coverage might miss. The app and website empowers you to form your own opinions by presenting you with every article published on any news story worldwide. My favorite part of the app is the data it gives you on each news source as you read it, such as where it leans on the political spectrum, a factuality rating indicating how subjective their printed reporting tends to be, and who funds it. I particularly like their blind spot feed, dedicated to showing you news stories that are underrepresented in the mainstream media. You can check this all out by scanning the QR code on screen or clicking the link below. It's easy to forget how much bias can shape the reality we live in. And in a world where our attention is constantly being fought over, my Vantage plan easily helps me keep up with more important stories slipping through the cracks. So I encourage you to check them out at ground.news/SWU. Subscribe through my link or download the mobile app and enter promo code SWU to save 40% off their Vantage plan. And by subscribing or even gifting it to someone you know, you're helping hold the media accountable and helping my channel directly. Thank you for watching. You graduated high school?
Yeah, I graduated high school. I am a school nerd, man. I graduated from high school in 2004, graduated from college in 2009. I've got half of my MBA, or no, I've got all of my MBA, but I didn't actually get my MBA because I have a 2.9. My problem was in my 20s, all I wanted to do is shoot heroin and cocaine all the time. And so it's hard I would literally leave class, go out, do a shot, go back into class. That's a hard way to survive whenever you're in a master's program. And then I have half an MS in clinical counseling that I was doing really well in, and I ended up getting a corporate job in software. And between that and my family, I couldn't keep up. It was during COVID, and now I think it's I almost have to start back over at this point.
Let me ask you one more question about your younger childhood.
Yeah.
Was there any traumatic crap you went through?
No, not really, man. I had a quintessential childhood. High school was great. I was a student body president of my class. I always say I'm pretty sure I came in second of most likely to succeed. I'm not sure what they were planning on me or the other guy who won succeeding in. I think he became a masseuse, and then I became what I am. But it wasn't traumatic. The trauma started coming as I got older. As far as now, when you talk about trauma, different things can be interpreted as trauma to me. Because for me, what ended up being traumatic when I was young was whenever I failed something. Because all of a sudden I look at myself a little bit less than I did before. And eventually I looked in the mirror and it was like I wasn't seeing anything. And, whenever you do that to yourself, you're gonna start living differently than you should, whether it's by trying to prove yourself or just by saying, hey, it doesn't matter. I've screwed up anyway. Why does it matter if I keep trying? And eventually you really jump into something. So
your drug use started when?
My drug use started when I was 18, smoking weed and then doing coke in college. Within a year, it turned into Oxycontin 80s, driving to other college towns around to get them. And then one weekend at spring break, I was down in a city called Hattiesburg, which is where Southern Miss is. And really, that's where all the opiates were coming from in Mississippi back in 2000. I guess this was about 2006. And guy didn't have any oxy, so we did heroin. And I already love cocaine. And so the first time I did heroin, I shot it up. And after, I've never snorted heroin in my life. I've probably done somewhere in between $500,000 and $1 million worth of heroin. I did it for a long time. And I just started shooting it, and eventually I added coke into the mix, and I spent about 10 years doing speedballs. Honestly, those times in my life, just like pretty much any other drug addict, I was a junkie trying to get a fix constantly, and I wanted something different, just like everybody else did. I just had no idea how to get it. So I kept doing them, and eventually I was able to get off. I had enough people around me die, so many friends die. I had enough just bad stuff happen that I was able to get off of that. But I still didn't really know how to live at that point. I was still a kid, going back to 18 probably. So what happened was I got clean off of the drugs, and within probably a year and a half, I met my wife, and we went to high school together, but we weren't a part of the same clique. During this time, I started writing short stories and putting them on Facebook, and all of a sudden I had a lot of women in my inbox, and she messaged me, and she's the one that stuck with me. She came with two girls. I think they were like 9 and 10 at the time. But something that's important that I'll get more into later is my wife was married whenever we met. And one thing I've figured out, you got to always pay the piper. You get it how you live, man. And but still, we fell in love. We got married. I started working software. And during that time, I realized that supporting myself and being a single man who was still trying to figure out life was a totally different story than supporting another woman and then also her kids. And I was coming up real short on money, even making a good salary. So I started messing around on the Darknet. And at first, it was just ordering enough for my people around me. That turned into ordering, anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 Xanax at a time every probably 2 weeks. I decided that I should get my own pill press. And so when I was doing this, I was looking for one that was probably, I don't know, I think it would shoot out about 1,500 pills an hour. I had a hookup that I could get real alprazolam from. And I was talking to him one day about what pill press to get. And so this guy, he talks very well, and he talks me into getting a much bigger pill press. It was one that was shoot out around 6,500 to 7,000 Xanax an hour. And whenever that happened, he also talked me into, he was like, look, man, I'll just start sending you this alprazolam for free. And he was one of probably the top 3 or 4 biggest Darknet vendors there was at a time. And he said, I'll start sending this to you, and then I'll send you orders. You press it, you send it out for me. We'll split the profits. And so I said, okay. I mean, he started talking about different amounts of zeros at the end of what I was thinking was a good amount of money. He would add a few more zeros. He's like, you can make this per month, which I never made that. But still, it got the greed inside of me to spinning. And I started doing things that I got too big for my britches, honestly. And so I started doing this, and then what he did was he started adding Molly into the mix. Now, in the middle of all this, I figure out who his screen name was. So you can't really vet these guys very well. But I kept doing research. And at one point I realized this guy had doxed me and had gotten my information and knew who I was. And so then I'm really starting to research him. And what I figure out is that he had been caught in Great Britain before. And whenever he got caught, he turned on all his pressers in America, and that's how he stayed free. So I'm in maximum freak out mode. He's and not only am I sending out anywhere from, I did 100 packs up to 10,000 packs of Xanax. Now he's sending me liquid MDMA. And what I do is I recrystallize it in a air fryer. And I'm sending out the most I could cook, because I was working full time, was probably around 300 grams a night. And so, but every night I'm having to stay up all night cooking this MDMA. And it just keeps pushing and pushing. Now, earlier I mentioned how many kids all my family had. For me, I was almost positive that I couldn't have kids because I should have. So all of a sudden I find out my wife's pregnant. And I don't know what to do exactly, because I'm having to do this operation that I started out with kind of having employees, had kind of fell on its face, because now I've had to fire everyone that was working for me because they kept getting on crystal meth. And I was in a situation where you had to be perfect or your life was over, basically, And so it's just me figuring out how to send all this stuff out. And I'm freaking out. So I tell my best friend and my nephew. My nephew's about 6 years younger than I am. My best friend didn't even really help me. I wasn't looking for help. I was more looking for support and ideas on what to do as far as this guy knowing who I was, me knowing now what I knew about him, and how to get out, because my wife's pregnant and I don't know what to do. I'm really freaking out. So at the time, my nephew had been a addict as well. He kind of followed me off into heroin a few years after I got on it, and he just stayed on it. And so I make a deal with him. I tell him as long as he doesn't do any more fentanyl, that he can work for me. I mean, he begged me to work for him. I kept telling him no, because I knew it would ruin my family, absolutely ruin it. But eventually I need enough help, I'm freaking out enough that I say yes. And so he starts, basically his main job was just packing for me. I was still doing all the pressing, all the order stuff, but he would pack the boxes, and he was really good at it. What I didn't realize is he continued using. I thought I was way better at monitoring this stuff than I was. I was terrible at it. And one more thing, my nephew, so my ex-brother-in-law, my nephew's dad, who my ex-brother-in-law raised me. He was one of my second parents that I talked about. We were very, very close. Now, eventually he ended up, I don't know, he screwed up as a husband, left my sister and her kids high and dry. And, but after he was a federal prosecutor at that time, after he quit being a federal prosecutor, he became the director of Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics. So he's the number one narc in the state. And his son and me are probably running the only Darknet operation in the state of Mississippi at the time, I would think. So anyway, I don't know what else to do though. I let my nephew come on. And eventually he I don't know what he was doing exactly. I don't know if he was pulled over to street sell somebody some stuff or what. I've gotten a lot of different stories. It's been very shady to me what's going on exactly. But he got caught with around 270 grams of Molly and, I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 Xanax bars, all in USPS boxes. He was on his way to my house. And so everything comes crashing down, you know. I figure out that he's not showing up at my house that day with the stuff. And what's ironic is I remember the day, it was a Wednesday, and I walked out of my office and I called him. I was like, hey man, I can come get this stuff, right? He was like, no, I'll bring it. And I didn't really understand why he was so gung-ho on bringing it. I'm still not sure, but I just went with it because, hey, I didn't have to drive the extra 45 minutes to go pick it up and then go home with it. But he never showed up. And so he was in jail, and I went on major freak out mode. I used to watch a lot of SVU, and I know this has nothing to do with it, but I was in such a freak out. The pill press weighed about 400 pounds. I couldn't move it by myself. I had rented out a space, a warehouse, and put it in someone else's name, all types of stuff to make sure that I got through this without detection. And so I go in there, I get all my drugs, and I put them in the truck, and I take them out to a cotton field somewhere and just throw them all out. I burn my laptop, and then I take bleach, which I know this did absolutely nothing, but SVU. I took bleach and just poured it all over my warehouse and my pill press. And I got out of Dodge, and I took off work the next 2 days because I knew they were going to be showing up at my house because, I mean, there was just no way around it. They did show up at my house, and when they did, it was MBN, which is state. They have to bring some local guys, and then there was a bunch of DEA guys as well. So what I did was, I just remember I was sitting there with handcuffs on in my back porch, and I'm looking for the head DEA guy. I'm trying to figure out which one it is. You know, I don't know who it is. I don't ask. So what I do is I finally say that guy's the boss, and I say, hey man, come over here, and he comes over. And I tell him the screen name of the guy that I had been working for and what that guy's screen name used to be. And he immediately knew who that guy was. And all of a sudden, everything changed. Now, I had no way of getting to this guy. He was a ghost. But as soon as I said that guy's name, they shut everything down. They had my car on a record. I mean, they were taking my car and everything. They put everything down and they left. So at that point, I don't know what's going to happen. My nephew's in jail still. I think he had like $1 million bond, but they didn't arrest me. And so I know nothing else to do but just keep going to work, you know, keep living my life. I feel like all of a sudden there's a glass wall in front of me, but all I know to do is keep pushing. So what happened was, with about, I think maybe 6 or 7 days after the search warrant, my wife miscarried. And so there's a lot of blame going on there for me because I feel like the pressure that I've put her through all of a sudden, because she's been riding with me now. When I say riding with me, she knew that I was up to no good. She had no idea the extent of what I was doing. I think at this time it started coming into view with her, and she freaked out. And so anyway, she miscarried, and I thought I just given up a huge chance in my life. Felt terrible. She started going through a lot of stuff, started drinking a lot. I was just lost. I started. I'd always used to take a lot of LSD, but I started going real deep with it. And when that wasn't enough, I started adding ketamine with it. I mean, we can't do it every night, but 2 or 3 nights a week, I would take as much LSD as I had to, even with the tolerance, to get where I wanted to be. And then I'd do ketamine. Eventually that turned into DMT. And so I had a really good DMT vape. And with DMT, what happens is whenever you're first hitting it, you just kind of have this wild sensation, but eventually you break through. And whenever you break through, you don't really necessarily lose use of your hands and things, but you don't use them. You kind of just go down like that. And so what I would get my wife to do is she would sit there and just keep pumping me full with it. Now, one thing about DMT that has always stuck with me is that whenever we're born, our body automatically produces a lot of it. Whenever we die, our body automatically produces a lot of it. So for me, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, this has something to do with the afterlife. It's pretty serious, right? So anyway, one of the nights when I was doing it, she just kept putting it right there and I just kept breathing it in. And after I broke through, I came in contact with this entity like you do whenever you're doing it. And I don't remember the full conversation. I just remember me shaking his hand and saying, if you get her pregnant, now I didn't make very good specifics. Whenever you make a deal, make a better deal than this. Say, if you get her pregnant, I'm yours. And we shook hands and then I came out of my trip. So 5 days later, we got a positive pregnancy test. 5 weeks later, we had another miscarriage. So I'm very lost at this point. Because I feel like with what I said about like the afterlife and stuff, I'm feeling like I've sold my soul for a dead baby. And I don't know how to rectify that, how to, make that right in my mind. So I don't. I start worrying. We as humans, we're always worried about the wrong thing. So I know eventually I've got to pay the piper with this prison thing. I know I'm going to have to go to prison over this Darknet stuff. I don't know how bad it's going to be. At the time, I honestly thought it was going to be probably 20 years of Fed time. But with that being said, my wife didn't have a real way of making money. In her first marriage, the guy was very manipulative and kept her from being able to pursue her career more than she had before, even to the point of not mailing in things to keep her certified in what her profession was because he wanted her at home, right? So instead of me figuring out how to get my wife a job, I start thinking, how can I leave money with her when I go to prison? So instead of me doing what's right, I started selling drugs again, man, with all this stuff looking at me. I've been on all the drugs in the world, but selling them is the hardest one to break. Because not only do you get the rush, you don't get the come down unless you get arrested. Now, if you get arrested, you get the come down. But if not, you're on a constant ride of making money, selling, and people need you, which always feels good for anybody, So anyway, I keep selling. I keep working in my software job, trying my best just to forget what's coming for me. And I mean that in not only with prison, but also with this DMT guy who's constantly on my back. I'm thinking about it like, oh my gosh, I sold my soul for a dead baby. Oh my gosh, I'm definitely going to have to serve this guy forever after I die. This type of ideas. And for me, I understand for someone who's never done it, it doesn't seem that real. But for me at that time, it's the realest thing in the world, right? So so what ends up happening, eventually I get indicted. I know when my court date's coming. It was in April of 2023, my court date's coming. So I think in February of 2022, I started caring more about spiritual stuff, more so just because I know that I've got some real bad crap following me around and I'm trying to run from it. So I decided to get rebaptized in church. And this is February 20th or 21st. I don't remember which. So I got rebaptized on a Sunday. That next Monday, I was working from home. And my wife tried to kill herself in front of me. Now, she didn't know that I was seeing her at first, but she was trying to kill herself. And see, what I didn't mention, that she was the third girl that's tried to kill herself in front of me, which at some point, you're the least common denominator. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what am I doing? What is wrong with me?
These are your girlfriends?
2 girlfriends and my wife, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. One was when I was, one of them, she was dang near a sociopath. She was just trying to get a rise out of me. So I never felt that bad about her. One of them, we both put each other through a lot of stuff. And it all culminated with that. And she wanted someone to come save her. So she kind of let me know. She sent me pictures of her cutting herself and stuff. And I take off to her house, right? We were in the process of breaking up, and it was just one of those things. With my wife, though, So I say that to say I know what commitment looks like whenever you're trying to do the deed. She was committed to it. And I couldn't figure out why. Like, we had been through all this stuff, but because of everything that was hard, we made a deal with each other. And the deal that we made with each other was that if she ever felt like she wanted to, come talk to me about it. And if she feels like if she feels like she can talk me into it, and she can, we'll do it. But I knew that she'd never be able to talk me into it. And I knew that I'd never go into her and try to talk her into it. So I thought we had a little bit of a buffer there. And also, I thought we had been through the worst stuff, right? And I thought we were just marching through it. So anyway, she tried to kill herself in 3 or 4 different ways that day before the cops were able to get over there. And I could not figure out what it was for the life of me. I had no idea what was going on. Well, a week later, I found out that she had had an affair with my best friend. And so all of a sudden, I am totally spun, because this was the one person I thought, with everything going on, that was walking with me hand in hand with it, right? Well, I thought he was too, but you know how that goes. A dude and a girl, you can never trust one. But anyway, I was enraged. I had 1 month before I was going to prison. I didn't know for sure how long I was going to do by then. I did know that, whatever they were trying to do federally, they were not able to put the charges on me correctly. So they were charging me state. Now, Mississippi at the time did not have a pill press law. So all they could get me with was conspiracy. Now, the next year they did have a pill press law. So I assume I'm kind of the reason for that. But I couldn't figure. I didn't know exactly how long I was going to do. My nephew and his family, he was looking at a lot of time. It turned into a real political thing because of some stuff that my ex-brother-in-law had done while he was the director. He had screwed over some people with some tax money and stuff, and plus we had everything going on with the welfare scheme that Mississippi had going with Phil Bryant and Brett Favre and them. So there was a lot of spotlight on him. Me, even though it was my operation, I was able to get away from the spotlight a little bit. So what ended up happening is they sentenced me to 20 years, but they suspended 15 of them and gave me 5 years. In Mississippi, if you're not a person who, I guess, what's the word, habitual, then you don't have to do mandatory time. If it's not violent, you only do 25%. So I ended up only having to do 15 months. But for that last month, my wife was in rehab. I just found out what went on with her and my friend. And man, I was livid. I was mad at the world. I was ready to fight, kill whoever. I was down. But at the same time, my 2 older brothers are both very wise, very spiritual men. And they both kept calling me back to forgiving her. Now, mine wasn't so much a biblical situation, but for me, I've just always known that forgiveness and what you're able to extend to people as far as olive branches, I've always felt they were very important in life. But as they talked to me, the more I felt like I was called to forgive my wife. But I couldn't figure out how. I was so pissed off. And I didn't care anything about God because I was signed over to a DMT trickster that anyway, I mean, you know, heaven or hell, I don't know what it is. It's going to be whatever he tells me to do after I die. So I didn't care about any of that. But I knew that I was called to forgive her, but I didn't know how. But I kept saying I was going to. So anyway, I went to prison, and in prison, I feigned forgiving her. If you asked me, I would say that I had, but I also would get raging mad on the Waffle with her, and not like accusing her of doing things now, just pissed off at her and just yelling. And that's never been the person I am. So what I would do is eventually I got out of prison. I went home to her, but it was not good. As soon as I got out of prison, I got back into selling drugs again. I not Darknet stuff, just street stuff, but on it hard because I was running from whatever it was that situation was making me feel. In a lot of ways, I think I hated her, but I still called myself wanting to forgive her. Now, with that being said, eventually we did separate because, I mean, the relationship we had going on wasn't good. I was pissed off all the time. She couldn't do anything to make me happy, even though she tried to do everything to make me happy. So we separated. Now, during this, I decided that I wanted to go to rehab. I wanted to go to get clean. Now, something I haven't talked about, I am I don't know if I'd call it avid, but I write so much. It has saved my life over and over and over again. And I thought to myself, Bardin, you can be a pretty good writer, or you can go and you can be a great writer, but you got to get clean to do that. So I decided to go to rehab, but I was still doing all types of drugs. I was really into mixing coke and ketamine at the time. It was my favorite thing to do. So I decided I'd go to rehab. I remember talking to my brother, and he brought up heaven or hell to me, and I told him I don't care nothing about heaven or hell, bro. He didn't know this. I've never talked to him about this, but I'm already signed, sealed, and delivered to somebody else. I don't know what it's going to be, but I ain't worried about it. So what happened was though, the Thursday. So I decided to go to rehab on a Monday. On that Thursday, I went over to some of my friend's house in the morning, and I went into the bathroom to pee by myself, okay? Which you generally go in a bathroom and pee by yourself. But I say that because I got stage fright in there by myself, which is really strange. I've never had that happen before. And so I came out and I talked to my buddy. I said, man, I couldn't pee in your bathroom. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to my house. I got to go pee, and I can't do it in there. So I left, and I rode. They're kind of my neighbors, so I rode down the road to my house. And I went into my bathroom, and I started peeing. And as I did, I started crying. I didn't know why, and I started praying. And I said, God, I don't know what's going on with me, but I know that I can't get out of this. My life is freaking miserable. I'm living with someone that I may or may not hate, that I'm also making her hate me. And if you will just please come fix what I got going on right now. I didn't make any promises except for one, because I've made all types of promises to people, to God, to everybody else. I've made these promises and I haven't kept any of them, but I made a promise that I knew that I could keep. I said, if you will come in and fix this for me, then every day after this, whatever it is, I'll give you glory for it. And so that's all of a sudden I felt this forgiveness come down me, and it was wild because I've never felt this before. So I have all this forgiveness coming down me. And so I think magically everything's fixed. Within 24 hours, I have thrown out or given away around $8,000 to $10,000 worth of drugs. I am scheduled to go to rehab in about 3 days. I go to rehab. Now, one thing I thought was I didn't realize I had to keep choosing. I moved my wife back in. Before I went to rehab, I moved my wife back into the house because we were separated. And now because I felt this forgiveness, well, this is going to be every day. This is going to be easy. I love you. I forgive you. You know what I'm saying? And so anyway, I go to rehab. And, of course, in rehab, I start feeling anger at times. And while I'm there, I see another woman. She's beautiful, and I'm mad at my wife. So I start talking to this girl, right? I get out of rehab. Before I get out, I tell my wife, don't be at home when I get home. And I made her all these promises right before, because I was on this high of this forgiveness, right? What I didn't realize, though, is I didn't realize that I had to choose the forgiveness. Before that experience I had, what I realized is that I didn't have a choice to forgive at that point, because I wasn't open to God. I wasn't doing anything I was supposed to be doing. So I had no choice to forgive. But all of a sudden this happens, and I think I don't even have to choose it, that it's just an automatic thing. Well, that's not true either. I mean, you have to choose good if you're going to keep doing good. But so I bring this girl home with me after rehab, and I know that I'm called to forgive still. I can feel it. I can feel the calling. And the other thing is, I can feel that if I do, that blessings are going to happen in my life. So what happened, I ended up, man, it took me about a month to get there, but I got rid of the other girl. I called my wife. I had her come home. And we decided to get back together with the understanding that I was going to choose forgiveness every day. And I didn't know what those blessings were going to look like. But Mark, wouldn't you know it, that she is 17 months pregnant. My wife is. I'm having a little girl coming. And it makes everything worth it, dude. It makes all that hard stuff worth it. During that time, I started taking my poetry and was able to convert it into some designs. I've created a brand. I am.
Are you working?
I'm a manager at Waffle House, which is totally different than what I was doing before. But I love it. I really enjoy it. I work hard every day. I've had to get my back right back into shape. I had back surgery in October of 2022, and it's been rough on me. But yeah, I work at Waffle House. I don't know, man. It's a different life. I choose forgiveness every day, though.
That's a wonderful story.
And that's really what I have to do. And so does she. So
congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's a beautiful story.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
All right.
Yep.
Bardin, thank you so much, man.
Yes, sir.
Good luck with everything.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.